The moment she took one step back from the church doors, holding her child a little tighter than before, something inside her quietly shattered. The bells were still echoing from the wedding that had just ended, laughter still floated through the air, flowers were still fresh under the sunlight, but for her, the world had suddenly gone cold. She hadn't cried. Not yet. She had learned long ago that tears didn't change much. What she didn't know was that this single moment of humiliation was about to change her life forever. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that no one should ever be judged by their past, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support truly means everything. Her name was Emily Carter, and at 29, life had already tested her more than most people twice her age. She was a single mother to a 5-year-old boy named Noah, a child with wide, curious eyes and a smile that somehow survived every storm they had been through together. Emily hadn't always imagined her life this way. Once, she had dreams filled with warmth, security, and love. But dreams sometimes collapse under the weight of reality. Noah's father had walked away before Noah could even say his first word, leaving Emily to pick up the pieces alone. Since then, every day had been a quiet battle, balancing work, motherhood, judgment, and survival. The wedding she had attended belonged to her cousin Rachel, someone she had grown up with like a sister. Emily hesitated for weeks before deciding to go. She knew how people looked at her, how whispers followed her into rooms, how smiles faded when they learned she was raising a child alone. Still, she wanted to be there. She wanted to celebrate love, even if her own heart carried scars. She wore her only decent dress, brushed Noah's hair carefully, and walked into the church with hope trembling quietly inside her. For a while, everything seemed fine. She sat at the back, not wanting attention. Noah stayed close, well-behaved, sensing her unease. But as the ceremony ended and guests began moving around, the atmosphere changed. Eyes lingered too long. Murmurs grew louder. Then it happened. Someone from the church staff approached her, face tight with discomfort, and told her she wasn't welcome to stay for the reception. The words were polite, but the meaning was cruel. A single mother, unmarried, with a child born out of wedlock, was considered a bad example. This was not the place for her, they said. Emily felt every pair of eyes on her as she gathered her things. Her hands trembled, not from anger, but from shame she thought she had left behind years ago. Noah looked up at her, confused, sensing something was wrong. She forced a smile for him, because that's what she always did. She walked out slowly, each step heavier than the last, carrying not just her child but the weight of being unwanted. Outside, the sunlight felt harsh. She stood near the steps, unsure where to go next, her heart pounding as memories of past rejections flooded back. Being judged at school events, whispered about at work, looked down upon in places meant to offer compassion. She wondered silently if this was all life would ever give her, moments of quiet hope followed by public shame. That was when something unexpected happened. From inside the church, a man had been watching. His name was Jonathan Hale. To most people, he was simply a guest in an elegant suit, calm and reserved. But beyond that, he was a self-made millionaire, a man who had built businesses from nothing and now quietly supported charities that helped struggling families. He hadn't come for attention. He had come to attend the wedding of a friend's daughter. But when he saw Emily being escorted out, something deep within him stirred. Jonathan had grown up poor, raised by a mother who worked endless hours after his father passed away. He remembered the looks she received, the judgment, the silent cruelty masked as morality. He remembered how churches and communities had turned their backs on them when they needed help the most. Watching Emily leave, holding her child with dignity despite the humiliation, felt like watching his own past replay itself. Without seeking permission or approval, Jonathan stood up. Conversations around him faded as he walked toward the entrance. People noticed. Whispers stopped. When he reached the doors, he stepped outside and looked at Emily, not with pity, but with respect. That he spoke calmly, firmly, and with a presence that demanded attention. He made it clear that if a woman who had shown nothing but grace and courage was not welcome, then neither was he. He reminded everyone that compassion mattered more than appearances, that love was not defined by perfection, and that judgment had no place in faith. The silence that followed was heavy. Faces that once looked proud now looked uncertain. The same people who had dismissed Emily moments ago suddenly felt exposed. Jonathan didn't wait for applause or approval. He simply turned to Emily and invited her back inside, not as a guest to be tolerated, but as someone who belonged. Emily stood frozen, disbelief flooding her senses. She hadn't expected help. She never did. Her life had taught her to endure, not to hope for rescue. But something in Jonathan's eyes told her this wasn't charity. It was justice. Slowly, she walked back in, Noah holding her hand tightly. This time, heads turned not in judgment, but in reflection. The reception continued, but something had changed. The atmosphere softened. People smiled differently. Some avoided eye contact, ashamed. Others nodded gently, acknowledging their mistake. That night didn't magically fix Emily's life, but it marked the beginning of something new. Jonathan didn't disappear after that day. He checked in on her, offered support without conditions, and eventually helped her find opportunities she never thought possible. More importantly, he reminded her of her worth. Not because she was a single mother. Not despite it. But because she was strong, loving, and resilient. Months later, Emily found herself standing in a better place, emotionally and financially. Noah thrived, surrounded by warmth instead of whispers. And Emily learned something powerful. Sometimes, the world will try to push you out quietly, but all it takes is one voice, one unexpected soul, to remind you that you belong. Before this story ends, please comment one word that this story made you feel: hope, strength, faith, or love. And if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change lives and that dignity matters, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps more stories like this reach people who need them most.